Begin transmission. Hello, everybody. It is Starrapter here, and I'm joined by Milton and Ben for another episode of Outer Rim Transmission. On episode 51, we're going to get into a little bit of a discussion talking about some stories of Luke Skywalker because that stemmed my interest in that topic when I read Shadow of the Sith, the brand new novel coming out from Adam Christopher, that is. So we're going to talk about that. We also have some Lego news and another casting news announcement for The Mandalorian Season 3. So we're going to get into all that this week. Make sure you go ahead, hit a thumbs up on the video if you enjoyed it, as well subscribe to the channel for more. And you can also listen to us on Apple Cast. We got Google podcasts, and a bunch of other services. And if you're watching this, you're like, why is he riding a speeder bike in stasis? Well, yeah, I'm having some technical difficulties, so you're going to just have to stare at my picture from Star Wars Celebration 2019 this week until hopefully I figure out the kinks next week. This is what happens when you start messing with OBS settings and then you just lose everything. So hopefully I'll get that fixed, but that's enough for me. How's everybody doing this week?
I'm good, man. I'm glad to be back on the podcast. I am excited for this episode. We have a lot of good things to talk about tonight, so let's get into it.
Yeah, same here. It's gonna be a great episode. I think we have a really fun topic to talk about, and there's plenty to talk about for that topic.
All right, so getting into it, our week in Star Wars. What was up with you, Milton?
So obviously, with what we're talking about tonight, my week in Star Wars has been listening to some old Legends books. I think I mentioned it last week in our other episode that the Legacy of the Force audiobooks have been my favorite Legends books of all time. I feel like they should be canon. Hopefully, in the near future, they will be. But I've been listening to book number 1, which I believe is Bloodline, which is an awesome story about Jason and Jaina Solo and Ben Skywalker and the Galactic Alliance and the New Republic. It's so good. So right now I'm almost done with that. Looking forward to book number 2 in that series.
All right, hitting us with the Legends once again. Yeah, I could depend on Milton and Ben to fill me in on that aspect of Star Wars because, as we know, I'm not super well versed in it.
Oh, yeah, Legends books are always a lot of fun. It's great. It's going to be great hearing like your feedback more and more on them, Milton, as you like reread them and recheck them out, or re-listen to them. Like that'll be nice. And then for me, for my week in Star Wars, it wasn't nothing too crazy really. Other than just seeing getting some interesting almost little headcanon. So I'm sure many of our viewers and listeners have heard of Star Wars Theory. Well, he went over a video earlier. Had a video earlier in the week where he opened up the old Kenobi book that's no longer canon anymore. It's a Legends book. And the cool part about that book is he found a paragraph in it where Obi-Wan is reminiscing in his hut on Tatooine. And he was thinking basically about just his past and everything. And the reason he ended up choosing the name Ben in that old book was because Satine used to call him that. So, I thought that was just a cool little kind of headcanon thing that he discovered. It's like, oh, that's a cool thing, just to, sure, there's really no canon explanation to my knowledge right now. So it's like, that's kind of a cool little headcanon thing just to put in there that's why Obi-Wan's named Ben.
Yeah, it's really cool because it's interesting about it's always a normal name, right? Ben is such a normal name in Star Wars, right? It's an earthy name, so it's like, you got Obi-Wan. How the heck does it become Ben? Why is it Ben?
Why? Yeah, I don't get that. Right? I mean, I never understood why they picked that normal name. However, it does fit him if you know the character of Obi-Wan Kenobi and Ben Kenobi, so it works. They could have gone with some weird, bizarre Star Wars name, but Ben Kenobi seems to be a great alias for him at the time.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Oh, yeah. And as far as me, as far as I'm concerned here, sorry. If I'm stumbling, I'm trying to do settings at the same time for those of you wondering what's going on with him tonight. I'm trying to multitask a little bit because I think there's a way I could actually figure out how to get me in here. Um, so I will talk real quick, and then I'll leave it to you guys so you can kind of take up the speech here, so I can figure this out. I think I have an idea to fix it. Um, Talking about why this is all happening tonight, I decided that I want to try to maybe start streaming more of the Old Republic, and well, that led to a can of worms where I was like, okay, I gotta change my settings because my game capture is looking like it's like a slideshow. And then I figured out, oh, I have to change this. Oh, I have to change that. Oh, it's looking better. Oh, it went back and it regressed and everything else. So I had a lot of fun from the Star Wars The Old Republic that I have played, but I'll be honest, I spent more time just flustered with changing settings. I'm like, okay, maybe I need a capture card if I'm going to try to do this because whether or not it's the video card or something, who knows? But besides that, I was also organizing a lot of my room as far as figuring out, okay, I have to put all these comics that I've collected that I've just kind of put in a stack over like literally months now. And I had this huge stack of probably about 50 comics. And I was like, all right, I got to do something with these. So I sat there and I organized them. I had to put some in storage. I had to make another box up for like to store the comics, like the long box, put more books on my shelf in the box so I could put more of the newer books on there because at the rate it's going, that entire shelf is going to be High Republic books because I showed you guys a picture and it was literally 10 books and it's only been going on for a year, not to mention all the comics and everything else. So I'm like, all right, that last shelf in the bookshelf is basically a dedicated High Republic shelf. And then eventually I'll get another bookcase or do something with it. But for now, most of my books are in copier boxes. So that was really my Star Wars week right there.
Nice. Yeah, I remember we got that picture, and like I said, that's a legit collection. You know, you're on top of it better than me, so I'm not really good at the whole new, or I guess the High Republic yet.
Yep. So, yeah, so we're going to get into it. As I said, this week we have a couple things that came out. We have Star Wars Darth Vader issue number 21, and we have Dr. Raffer issue number 19. So I have my reviews for those on the channel, and kind of getting into the precursor of what our discussion will be. StarWars.com put out a new excerpt, the first excerpt for Star Wars Shadow of the Sith, written by Adam Christopher. This one's coming out, I believe, in the beginning of June. So the idea with the story is it's like an adventure in between Return of the Jedi, in between the events of Force Awakens, where we have Lando, we have Luke, and they're kind of going searching for Exegol. Kind of like that story, that's a story we heard about in what is it, the Rise of Skywalker. We were hearing about, oh yeah, Luke started to find this place and he kind of gave up or whatever happened. So this is that story. So they gave us a really cool excerpt, very long excerpt, I will say. It's probably an entire chapter of Luke at the Seeing Stone on Tython. Yes, that same location from the episode 6 of season 2 of The Mandalorian that Grogu was on. He was on that same place. It must be like a Vergence in the Force or power, because he was able to actually, he's had visions up until this point about Exegol. He didn't know it was called Exegol, but then when he went to the Sightseeing Stone, I guess it was able to amplify the power through the Force. So
Right.
the way it's described is almost like something from like The Last Jedi, where this could strengthen The Last Jedi a little bit, because he actually like does like a force projection to Exegol, and he's like on that planet. It's described exactly as we would see it: very dark, lightning hitting the surface, cracks in the surface, and then he's set upon by these like 9 like force apparition ghosts that have like red lightsabers and they're in cloaks. It kind of reminded me of like the Nazgul from Lord of the Rings or something. And
Okay.
well, Luke is fighting these things. Like, it's insane. He's got his green lightsaber. But yeah, again, like his body is back on Tython, but he feels like he's physically there on Exegol. And he's fighting these things, and he's like literally like slashing them for like lethal blows. And his saber just goes right through him, and it just like collates into like dust. Like, it's, these things are impossible to kill. And it goes on for a while, like a while that he's fighting these things. And next thing you know, there's a cloaked figure that arrives with a blue lightsaber, and this thing just like takes out. I'm pretty sure it just makes the Force like creature things, cultists, like run away. And then
Okay.
and then and then Luke looks at him, and it's freaking Anakin Skywalker. Like, Anakin Skywalker appeared on Exegol in a Force Ghost manner to help his son fight off these, like, dark side manifestations or something. And Luke, I forget exactly what Luke said to it, but I was like, holy crap, like, this is the kind of, like, stories I was hoping to get from Luke for a long time. Like, we always wanted to see, like, what that would be, that conversation between Anakin and Luke. And it looks
Mm.
like this book, if it keeps, if it goes the way that this chapter went, it's going to be pretty much an essential Star Wars story.
Right, right.
Well,
No, I
here's
agree. Like, it's go ahead, Ben.
so what I was thinking with that, like, I mean, I'm sure Milton's probably thinking, or both of you might be thinking along the same lines as me. What you just described right there, Chris, was better Luke than we got in the entire sequel trilogy. Like, that sounds so much cooler. Luke, these Sith Force Ghost things, Anakin, like all these things, like that's so cool. Like that type of stuff. Like, why not give us that? Like, that just sounds awesome to me.
Yeah, I
Like,
I don't know, but I mean, think about it. Like, that's something that we've been waiting for, and they just put it in a book. I'm like, holy crap! Like, this is pretty big.
Yeah, and this is where, I cut out there for a minute, but I know where Ben was going.
Yep.
But it's like there are books where Anakin and Luke had conversations post Return of the Jedi. And I believe the one trilogy, and then this is tied into our whole podcast, is the Dark Nest trilogy, I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
It's whenever it's like the Unseen Queen, the Swarm War, and something else. But I'm pretty sure Luke sees like holocrons of like his dad, his mom, and all that type of stuff. And I know Leia has a conversation with Anakin at one point, and it's like, man, we needed that in the movies just to validate all the trilogies together. And after I read part of this excerpt, it was really good. I need to finish it. I actually probably will get this book on audio eventually. I do want to know about Exegol more and more about Luke's journeys. I think that's what we're all missing when it comes to Star Wars over the past 8 to 7 years since Disney has bought them. What has Luke been doing for those 30 years?
well, I think the good part about like you saying that, Milton, is the fact that when it comes to Luke now, now like we kind of gave credit on last week's podcast. I can give credit where credit is due. Star Wars has been correcting a lot of their kind of, like, say, from the fans' view, kind of mistakes or missteps they had, on their formatting of the sequel trilogy. So now they're using a lot of the basically outsourced material, like the books and the shows, like The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett, to strengthen Luke's character and strengthen this timeline. So it gives me a lot of hope that we're going to be getting a lot more of Luke. Because as we discussed before, when it comes to Mando and Boba, why else would you put all that time and effort into making the digital Luke when, with that, if you're not going to use him more? Like, I think it's all leading to Luke being a main part in, say, as like Kathleen Kennedy and all of them alluded to, like, these Mandalorian shows are leading up to some type of event or whatever. So maybe Luke is going to be involved in that, and it'll be like your big kind of Avengers Endgame mashup, and Luke is going to be like basically like the Iron Man for Endgame, without dying, of course, because he lives on. But he's going to be kind of like the Iron Man for that thing.
Real quick update. I got my video cam working. I know you guys can't see me in Skype because I had to turn off my camera because you can only use your camera in one instance. So I had to use it on OBS and it's working fine. So
Nice.
For those of you listening, if you want to go back and watch me actually talk, I'm there now. I've magically appeared. So there we go. I do want to send an acknowledgement over to our chat room. We got Chris Forsyth and we got Dark Nerdy Gonzo hanging out, talking Star Wars with us, and you guys can do the same. Just get on to youtube.com/Starrapter and join in. And you could always send us a comment after the fact. Of course, let us know about the show. So besides the awesome excerpt, we got a really cool image of the cover for Shadow of the Sith. It's got Lando, it's got Luke, and it's got a very mysterious. And I think they actually acknowledge that this is actually a Sith character. They actually said it in the description, like it's like a Sith character. So that's very intriguing. Like, okay, we have Sith that we don't know about apparently.
Well,
I mean,
it actually.
Go
on. Oh, okay, I was gonna say real quick. Maybe some of these potential characters are going to be in the Mandoverse. Just to throw that out there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like this book is yeah, they could do that, but the book is probably way too far out. I believe the book takes place like maybe 10 years before Force Awakens, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not mistaken. I mean, so that would mean this is
yeah,
like
that's
15 years after Mando verse, I think, relatively. Roughly.
I mean, yeah, look, I'm not surprised that there would be new characters introduced in a sense of like dark side users, or even, I wouldn't say Sith Lords, I'll say dark side users or villains, just because Luke had to have had some type of challenge over that 30 years. I mean, there has always been a threat to the Jedi trying to rebuild their legacy, their religion, so someone had, I mean, the Force doesn't just evaporate, so someone had to have tapped into the dark side of the Force, I would assume this, and try to bring, as dark side would say, go back to the old ways and, try to wipe out the Jedi again. So, I mean, I'm not surprised. I'd be curious to see who they use. Maybe it's a setup for Snoke. Maybe it's a setup for Palpatine. Who knows? Because clearly, as we know, Palpatine has been around. It's just those characters didn't know.
Yeah, Dark Nerdy Gonzo say Disney canon is just let's patch up the plot holes from the cinema. Next.
He's not wrong. I mean, listen, look, Dark Nerdy Gonzo is not wrong on that. And this is where I think a lot of frustration comes in from fans when they talk about when are we going to move away from this timeline. And part of it is I still like the timeline. There's a lot of story to tell. But I think because of how the movies played out, it's like we already know the end game. So you have to try to fix the movies because not everyone's receptive to them. Like that's what they're doing. I mean, Mandalorian and Boba Fett has made us love Luke more because it's like, oh, they're doing Luke right, even though he wasn't done well in the sequel trilogy. In most people's opinion, now there are people out there that love Luke Skywalker in the sequels, and I respect them for that. However, a loud majority do not like the way they did Luke Skywalker in those movies. So now they're trying to fix them in books. They're trying to fix them in shows. So it's just being real here.
Oh, 100%. Like I agree on every single one of those points you just made, Milton. When it comes to Luke, they're just trying to basically kind of have a makeup with the fans. Like, hey, sorry, we kind of made everybody upset. So let's just make Luke amazing again, which is great. Like, of course, we want to see it now, especially the way we've seen Luke in like Mando season 2's finale, like seeing him kick ass like that, like that's amazing. So we need to see more of that. And, we've discussed it a few months ago on here when we were briefly discussing The Last Jedi. One of the best ways you can build Luke up to that point in that movie to make him go down this path of giving up on everything is basically before Ben turns, you just have to have Luke built up so high and mighty, basically where he has done all these amazing things, been this big badass, blah, 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 blah. Get him really cocky almost. Because in Mandalorian season 2's finale, I mean, I mentioned it, I think, in our finale review. Like, Luke was definitely almost smug, like arrogant, like, hey, when he crushed that dark trooper at the end, that's basically him like flexing the bait, going,
Facts.
Yeah, I'm the man. So like, as long as they keep that up with Luke and keep making him build up his character more and more and more to this big, powerful, confident character, and then when Ben turns, it breaks him. That will, it doesn't fix everything the sequel trilogy's caused, but it'll really enhance them from where they are at their current state.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it validates what their story is currently. When they, I mean, it's kind of like, I'm gonna use a wrestling term. You know, you're building up a story. You are building up a promotion. Currently, I don't know if you guys are wrestling fans out there, are like WrestleMania is coming up in a couple weeks. Right now, their big storyline is Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns, and they've been building that for 8 months. You know, and it's like someone has to be a heel, someone has to be a hero or a babyface. So you got to build up those brands to validate their character and eventually validate whoever loses or wins, is to put the guy over or let the wrestler lose in grace. You know, it's I get that. Because it's predetermined. Spoiler alert if you're a fan of wrestling. But it's like with the Star Wars movies, we know where it's predetermined how it's going to end. So I do see them, okay, let's build up Luke as a baby face, and then like let's tell his story as a sad character, Yep. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's dive into our discussion, which spawns off of Shadow of the Sith, and I really liked how we're getting a new Star Wars Luke Skywalker story, right? I mean, we don't get a lot of those, especially not a lot in this gap of time, right? They've been so mysterious, Lucasfilm hiding Luke from this era. I mean, we got Era to the Jedi, which was an okay book set between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. We got in Shattered Empire comics, which I'll talk about in the next couple minutes here. But other than that, they've been just, okay, you can't do Luke if it's in between this time period. And now they're opening up the doors. So that got me thinking, hey, let's look at Legends. Let's look at canon. What have been some of our favorite Luke Skywalker stories from throughout the years? And I know you guys have plenty of ideas from Legends. I got plenty of ideas from the canon and maybe one or two Legend stories. I'm going to throw it over to Milton first, and we'll just kind of go around the room, so to speak, and comment and discuss some of our favorite Luke Skywalker stories. So, what's the first one for you, man?
I would say, and I mean, I have a couple, and I'm sure we'll go back, we'll go around a circle with this, but I would say one of my favorite ones is the Yuzhong Vong War. Which series is that, Chris or Ben?
That's what it's literally called, isn't it?
Is that what it's called?
Oh no, it's called New Jedi Order.
New Jedi Order. Yeah,
yep.
That one. So I really enjoy those books with Luke because to me that's prime Luke, where he's got the temple going, the Jedi are still being rebuilt. He's really confident, and I just love how he's dealing with multiple things when it comes to trying to be a good Jedi, trying to be a good husband. Trying to balance the good versus the dark side. Luke, to me, I would love to see that in a film or live action series. I just love how those characters were developed and how Luke interacted with not just his students and with Mara Jade, but with with like the different villains that were introduced. Like Luke was not the Luke was consistent from the movies, but he grew a lot from the movies. And I wish we got that in a live action version. So I know for me, that's how I got into the whole Legends book. Well, at the time they were canon because of that New Jedi Order. Like I just loved reading more about, okay, what was Luke doing? Yeah, so that was one of my first introductions into that, and I really loved those stories.
Sweet. Yeah, I mean,
those.
Go ahead.
Yeah, those stories are. Sorry, Chris, we can't see when you're talking on our end. Just to throw that out there. Yeah, so like with that story, Milton, I think the good thing is, Chris, you might have to comment on the exact species, but I think there's a chance we might get some type of a Yuzhan Vong adaptation potentially at some point in live action, maybe in the Mandoverse era, because think about it, we're having Thrawn coming out of like potentially outside in the unknown regions, wherever him and Ezra are. And then, what could cause this like big potential war? Maybe I can't think of what the characters' names are, Chris. They were supposed to be like inspired kind of off the Yuzhan Vong. They're outside in the unknown region. Yeah, the Grisk. Yeah.
They're so
I think
cool.
There's a chance we could. Yeah, I think there's a chance we could potentially get those because those are 100%. Like when I'm looking into them, they're 100% basically inspired from the Yuzhan Vong for the most part, it seems like. So it makes me wonder if we're going to potentially get that at some point. And hey, even if we don't get it with Luke, maybe at some point when we get a 10, 11, 12, because let's be real, we're going to get more movies in the saga eventually. So it makes me wonder, maybe that could be the big threat. Like, instead of having a Sith Lord to fight like Rey and Finn and Poe down the road, maybe we're going to run into the Grisk. Like, I think the Grisk have a good chance of maybe being in, say, the Mandoverse, potentially being like the big threat, like Thrawn and everybody deals with, or maybe down the road. But I think that's a potential, and it just brings up more like fun things to talk about, especially when we're on the subject of Legends, especially with the Yuzan Vong series.
Yeah, they're those last bastion of heavy Legends material that we haven't really touched upon. I mean, we've got, well, yeah, I mean, that whole era, right? I mean, you got Mara Jade, you got that. Well, there's a lot of other things, but I feel like a lot of people really are wanting that big outer threat to come into play.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing though. Like without those Luke stories, I mean, we got such great character development because of these supporting characters. That's the thing. Like it's not necessarily Luke's main story. I feel like those Legends books, and I'm sure the group chat might agree with me here. Those Legends books really developed other supporting characters that people love to like. They love to love, Mara Jade, Jason and Jaina, Ben Skywalker. At one point, Anakin Skywalker was in those books. I think what's his name? I mentioned him earlier. Wedge Antilles got a lot of love in those books. Yep. It's like those supporting characters got a lot of love, and it grew their characters.
Yeah, those books are what made me like Wedge, actually, because Wedge to me up to that point was just a pilot in the original trilogy, and then those books made me be like, dang, that's one of my favorite side characters in Star Wars.
Oh yeah, there's so many rich characters that were brought up in that. But yeah, I mean, going a little bit deeper on Luke though, so were there certain moments from the series that were standouts for you for Luke, whether it be action or just big character moments in general?
Well, when it comes to action, Luke actually could like fight. Like you can so right now, because I'm listening to, like I said, Legacy of the Force, which is the next, which I think is the third set of like canon books after New Jedi Order. Luke's powers have enhanced significantly. He's more in tune with the Force. He's more confident. Like you can, so whenever, that's why I love the audiobooks, because how they read the character or they perform the character, that Luke is just on a different level. He's OP, but he's still very much humble, but also he does worry at times, but he's in control still. Like he's just a more enhanced version of Luke Skywalker from from Return of the Jedi. And you can get a sense of that. He knows what he needs to do. He knows his purpose. He knows who he is as a man and as a Jedi. And I think he came to peace with who his father was and his family's legacy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I like that.
But he can kick ass. Like you can definitely, the way they describe him in the books with using a lightsaber, you definitely tell he put some training time in after Return of the Jedi.
All right, so transition over to Ben. Give us one of your favorites Luke Skywalker stories.
Well, to wrap Milton's Yuzan Vong part, another interesting part I really enjoyed with Luke in that series is like down the road when they're really eventually getting into the fight with the Yuzan Vong. The cool part about those species is like, when Luke's facing them, it's great seeing like, as you just said, Milton, Luke's so powerful and OP and everything. But then when he starts really getting into the thick of things with the Yuzan Vong, like they're pretty much like outside of the Force where he can't like directly sense them through the Force. So he's basically not getting the advantage of being a Force user fighting them. So like that's one of the best parts. Like Luke's so powerful and he basically has a good opponent to face against. So like I think it's a great opponent for Luke to have versus just like a stereotypical Sith Lord in that series or something.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But so just to throw that out there. But yeah, so with me, I would say my favorite, or one of my favorite Luke stories. I mean, we'll get into plenty of them, but one of my favorite Luke stories in general from the the old canon, or I guess Legends now, but the Legends is I really just liked his character development when I don't remember exactly which book it was, if it was Heir to the Empire or one of the other book series, where he first initially starts interacting with Mara Jade and their relationship develops. So like that whole relationship I think was great, because to me it humanized Luke, because through the original trilogy he was humanized, of course, but he was our hero, so like we knew he was gonna like end up being like pretty much like flawless by the end of it. And like
right.
Mara Jade brought on kind of like those flaws and weaknesses in Luke. Like they made him, I remember when he first was like looking into her, investigating her, one of the best parts was he had like almost like a nightmare, I guess you would say, where he it's like one of the most famous like Luke and Mara Jade things. It's where he basically had like a nightmare / vision where he was replaying the whole Jabba sail barge execution thing above the Sarlacc pit. And when he had this vision where and it's great because the way the book describes it, like it literally looks like they copy and pasted from the Return of the Jedi novel and put it in there, but then they started changing things as you're reading. So like it plays everything out. Luke's like it cuts over to 3PO talking, cuts to R2, cuts to Jabba. Luke's walking out on the plank and he gets poked in the back by that guy. And then Luke does the whole salute thing, jumps, turns around, but when he turns around and holds his hands out for this lightsaber, his lightsaber just stops and is levitating in midair, and then it gets force pulled over, and there's like a redheaded woman on the end of the sail barge, and she pulls it over to her, and then he like snaps out of it,
Right.
So like that was one of the best, like I feel like most iconic like Luke / Mara Jade moments, because it was like a whole kind of like retelling of Return of the Jedi, like kind of like a what if scenario for Return of the Jedi. And then it makes you look when you watch, like I remember the first time I read that book, I think it was in Heir to the Empire, the Thrawn trilogy. But the first time I read that, the first thing I did after reading that chapter, I went and turned on Return of the Jedi and fast forwarded to that part and was like, man, so like she could have potentially been right here on this sail barge. Like,
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yep. That was one of my most favorite like Luke things, was like, holy smoke. So like he had this vision that she was going to be right there on the sail barge. And the cool part about it was, so this vision / nightmare. So he was basically looking back to before they made the plan. It wasn't just like a vision of a retelling. Like he had a vision like looking back and it was like changed or whatever. It was like a vision where he was going over the entire plan again. So like he was looking back on it and had that pop up basically. And he was like, whoa, what is this?
Wow. Okay. Yeah, it's interesting having characters in specific areas that didn't exist, prior to certain movies. That's always something fun to go. Like a lot of the books do that. It's like, oh, there's that one character bounty hunter over there on Endor, with a sniper rifle taking out some stormtroopers or rebels or whatever. And it's like, oh yeah, let me look in the background, see if I can see her. Yeah.
Right.
I do want to acknowledge. Go ahead.
No, about to say, you acknowledge the guys or the group chat, and I have two more that I know. One, I think Ben's not going to remember, but go ahead.
Oh, no, okay. So I was going to say, Dark Nerdy Gonzo also agrees with Milton about New Jedi Order. And he also chimes in, one of the best moments is the Dark Empire. And that's the thumbnail of this image. So has anybody read Dark Empire?
Yeah, I'm about to say, so Dark Empire is one of my other favorites, but I'll get into that second. Ben, I don't know if you remember these books. Do you remember the Jedi Prince series, which the first one was The Glove of Darth Vader? Do you remember that book?
I feel like I do. Once you get describing them, I feel like
okay. So there's
read them. I'm sure I've read them. It's just been a long time.
So there's like 6 books, but the first one's called The Glove of Darth Vader, and it takes place a year after Return of the Jedi. Like Empire's in shambles. There's not really a leader. So do you remember when there was a character called like Treculus or something? He had like that third eye.
Yep. I
And they
remember
were
that now.
trying to say like he was the heir to the Empire and he was like the son of Palpatine. And so then like whenever they found the glove of Vader, they said whoever has this glove is going to be like has this power. It was very science fictiony too, but it worked because that guy pretty much was Thrawn before Thrawn, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
And I haven't read the other books. I read the first couple because I remember the first, and I'm like looking at them right now because I remember reading, obviously Glove of Darth Vader. I've read The Lost City of the Jedi and Zorba the Hutt's Revenge. I remember those three. But pretty much that whole series of books is about this guy who's like the proclaimed quote unquote son of Palpatine, who is now destined to rebuild and run the Empire. And he has the glove of Vader, which I guess makes him like the quote unquote like, you know, the ultimate leader or whatever. It's dope. Like I need to actually go back and reread those. I've forgotten a lot about those books, but I do know Luke was still trying to. He wasn't as good yet, Luke, as we see him later. Like he was still nice, but he wasn't developed, or he wasn't confident yet in his abilities to be a Jedi.
Okay.
So you got so check out those books. I'm pretty sure it's called the Jedi Prince series, and the first book is the Glove of Darth Vader. Like that cover is fire. So
I've never even heard of this book or this series before.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, I definitely read those three, Milton. The Glove of Darth Vader.
Because those first three were the ones that like I remember really reading, and after that I fell off.
Yep, I've 100% read those. I'm looking at them right now.
Yep. So I mean, group chat. I mean, or not group chat. Guys out there in the chat, please check those books out. I'm telling you, the Glove of Darth Vader is part of I believe the Jedi Prince series. You won't regret them at all. They're easy reads from what I remember the first three. I don't know if they do them on audio, but check them out. They're gonna be fire. And then as for what Dark Nerdy Gonzo said about the Dark Empire, oh, he's not wrong. Like those, man, the audio versions are fire. Like Luke is ultimately OP in those books. Like he's overpowered, and I love that. Love it. Like because at one point Lando describes Luke, I think, and maybe Dark Nerdy Gonzo can remember this. I remember in the book Lando describes Luke doing something with the Force, and he said it reminded him of Vader. Like he pulled down a TIE fighter or a Star Destroyer. I can't remember, and it was like. Bro, I was like, wow, Luke is on point. And obviously, spoiler alert, Palpatine's in that first when he comes back. You know, that's the whole cloning stuff with Palpatine.
All right, so I will go next, and I'm going to pull from a reference that I already made earlier in the show, and that's the Shattered Empire comic book series. So it's a 4-issue event series. It was one of the first things released in like the 2015 era of Star Wars when everything was exploding because Force Awakens was around the corner. And this takes place literally like the Ewok ceremony and then beyond. So it's like literally the next like scene after Return of the Jedi. The last issue actually introduces Poe Dameron's mother. She's in a shuttle, she's flying an A-wing and sees a shuttle come out of the Death Star, is about to destroy it, and it turns out to be Luke flying away from the Death Star, and he's using like the Force to like throw off her targeting so she can't kill him or whatever. But then she goes on a mission with him to find like this Imperial place to find like this Force tree. And the Force tree is significant because that's actually the same kind of seedling that was at the Jedi Temple on Coruscant, which I think you do see in one of the episodes of the Clone Wars. Right. So that was pretty cool because that was something kind of special where it was like, oh, this is our first like canonical like Luke Skywalker story after Return of the Jedi. We've all been chopping at the bits to see what Luke has been up to. So we don't get a whole lot of them, but it was memorable for me because it was like, okay, you get to see Luke like kicking some butt. And he's given some sage, like kind of Jedi advice a little bit there. And it was just kind of neat to see him. So I'll throw that one out there for mine out of the first wave here.
That's a good one, Chris. And I remember that one. I think when you and I first came friends, I think that's when that one came out.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember reading that comic and was like, okay, so this Force tree, because didn't they give a tree to Poe Dameron's parents?
Yeah, there was one on Yavin.
Yes.
Like they
Yes.
settled on Yavin.
And I think the theory was at the time, well, maybe Poe's Force sensitive because they have this Force tree.
Yeah.
Do you remember that whole like rumor and innuendo? I'm thinking,
Yeah.
oh, well, maybe Poe's Force sensitive or something because his parents knew Luke, and maybe Luke was going to train Poe up at one point. So,
yeah.
Oh yeah,
So.
I actually remember that. Like you said, Milton, I remember that as well. I think it, like you said, it was around the time we started really talking with Chris more and everything about all this stuff. And I think it was like I probably before I read that, because I remember I read that as well. And like you said, the theory was going around like maybe it's Poe who's going to be Force sensitive, or he might end up being a Jedi Knight or something. And then I ended up seeing like I feel like your review on it, Chris, or something at some point, and like then we all became friends and whatnot. But yeah, that's a really great series or a great story, just because like I always feel like when it comes to Star Wars, like you can say what you want about like the Empire and like rebellion and all that stuff, but like Star Wars comes down to the Force, in my opinion. And like just seeing like Luke being involved in anything Force related like that, like is always significant in my opinion.
Oh yeah. So we're gonna cycle back to Milton. What are the Luke stories, man? I know you got another one in there.
Oh man, God, probably too many in my head. Low key, Shadows of the Empire, or is it called Shadows of the Empire? That book, yeah. I like that one. That one's not bad.
Oh yeah, because
that one's not bad. I think. Yeah, go ahead.
No, that's the cool. I love everybody knows to watch the show. I love the freaking
what's
game.
the one guy's name? He's got the Caesar or no?
Caesar, Prince Caesar.
Yep.
Yes, that's the one. He's in it.
That's Chris's
It's
guy.
neat because I have one of my favorite Star Wars action figures is the Luke Skywalker in the red like black sun armor. Because he actually like goes into the Coruscant Palace, and he actually, because I think they're going to rescue Leia, who's captured by Zizor, and he like goes in disguise. It's like this really cool red armor that we haven't seen in Star Wars since 1996. And it's like, what's going on with that? We got to bring that back. But yeah, it was one of the coolest Star Wars action figures. Was you take the helmet off and it's Luke's head. It's like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah, I didn't mind that series at all. Or that book. It was pretty solid. I think I have it on audio book. It's legit. I mean, it's one of the earlier legacy, non-canon books. And they did a really good job telling just a good story about. I think that takes place like a year in between Empire and Return of the Jedi, from my understanding, right?
It's in that gap at some point. Yep.
Yeah.
Because I think it's technically like a year gap or something. Something like that. Yep.
So no, I really enjoyed that book a lot. So that's probably another one with Luke, and Luke had a lot of good growth in that book.
He did, yeah. Oh yeah, because at one point, because that book deals with the Bothans and what happened with the trap, and Luke is actually there to like take out some of the troops and all, because they get massacred, and then they get that's how they get the plans to the Death Star too,
Yep. Yeah. And it ties into that well. And it's like, okay, like, and then again, a lot of people who are non-Star Wars fan or just regular Star Wars heads, they probably wouldn't have known that.
So great pull. I was not expecting you to say Shadows of the Empire, but
hey man, listen, I've read a lot of them. Like, trust me, there's probably so many books I don't remember because I have like literally like a whole file on my laptop. Just with Star Wars audiobooks.
Wasn't it Shadows of the Empire? I'm like raising my hand over here as if you guys can see me, but was it Shadows of the Empire also the part where Luke is training on Tatooine at like Ben's hut? And I think it like has him creating his green lightsaber. I wanted to
say that might be because now do they pull that and I believe you're right. I think you're right.
Or it might have been. It was either Shadows of the Empire or it was the first book of the Thrawn trilogy. One of the two.
No, it's gotta be Shadows of the Empire, because
I think it's because he's trying to get the crystal. Because he's
Okay, yeah. So, it was Shadows of the Empire. Yeah. Yep.
Because he doesn't he do the crystal And there he does like well, then it was like the synthetic crystal for the saber,
Yeah.
right?
I don't know anything about what's a synthetic crystal.
I'm pretty sure, like, and again, hopefully maybe the chat might know, but I believe in one of the books, I think it might have been that one, like Luke finds Ben Kenobi's journal, and that's how he learns how to build a saber. And then because he can't actually get a kyber crystal because he couldn't find them, or he didn't know how to find one, so he had to like get some type of like crystal to make it synthetic, was why it burned or it bled green. And it's a synthetic crystal in his saber. And again, this is non-canon at the time, but I'm pretty sure they discussed that in one of the books, why the saber is green and not blue or white or red anymore, because he had to get a synthetic crystal which made it green.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure that was Shadows of the Empire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I a low key, this one I'm not super familiar with, but I've read maybe but I like the cover of this book. The was it the Shadows of Mindor or something?
Oh,
is
yeah.
that the Luke Skywalker Adventures or something?
Yep.
I read a couple like pages. It's fire, but I love the cover of that book because Luke looks like he's about to wreck shop. Love it. And he's wielding the green lightsaber. Again, I'm not familiar with that story because I read a couple pages of it. I need to actually get it, but I love that cover. I've always wanted to have that poster in my house somewhere. So,
and we also have Dark Nerdy Gonzo chiming in. Yeah, he's like, hey, I had the same action figure, so I know we're both from the same We're all of us are basically from like the 90s generation, so that's all that power of the Force goodness that we all had as kids.
Fact.
All right, I'm probably going to throw this one out there as a wild card. Dark Nerdy Gonzo is really want us to talk about Shadows of Mindor. I've seen a couple of people when I was looking up online about some of the best Star Wars stories. This came up. I've heard of it. I have no idea what it's about. Do either of you, have you read it?
So that's the one I just mentioned. That's the one I just mentioned. I read some like pages of it, and I don't know. I haven't read it all the way through. I need to now. Is that book on audio? Does the chat know that? Because if it's on audio, I'll get it. Because I'll read anything that's audio book or listen to anything. Especially again, Chris, that cover is fire. Like it's so good.
Yeah, let me see. I'm looking right now. I'm just looking at pulling up the cover. Like I can always tell if I've read a book just by checking out the cover.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I know the cover. Like, I just haven't read it all the way through.
Like what's the saying? So like I've 100% read this book. 100%. I don't remember a lot about it though, just because like my thing is like the saying in like the NFL, for example, is Bill Belichick, the New England Patriots coach. He's been coaching for 45 years. Like he's forgotten more football than we will all know. And like me, I'm at a point like I've read so much Star Wars stuff. I've forgotten like more Star Wars stuff, than you can even imagine, just because I've consumed so much content. Like I've probably read virtually almost every Legends book that's available for the most part, like in the mainstream. Like I've read all the different series and things. Like I know I've read this Shadows of Mindor book. I just don't remember exactly what it's about.
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna have to get that book now because I mean, I need it. Like I just love the cover. I know I liked it that much because anytime like I see a Star Wars book as a kid, and the cover grabbed me, I'm gonna read it. Like it's just so.
Oh yeah, like that book. Yeah, I remember reading that one. See, like these type of things though, even though like we don't remember the exact stories potentially, like these are the things that built up so much pressure going into the sequel trilogies of what Luke should be, because we had all of these like ideas and things like how amazing Luke was in Legends, and then like the sequel trilogy turns out how it is, and like sure some people may like it, it's fine, whatever, but the thing is like that's what a lot of people like say on the side of the people that really enjoy the sequels and the treatment of Luke in the sequels. like I think that's the misstep a lot of people are looking over, is like we've had basically leading up to the sequel trilogy basically 25 years of books, like building up Luke's character in everybody's heads, and even if you can't recall the stories directly, that's still in your in your subconscious Star Wars brain, basically, of how amazing Luke was.
Right. Well, I mean, and we're just giving credit to, and this is where I think Chris might agree with me on this for sure, because Chris is a big book head and he likes comic books. But I think those books, and we love them so much because we have to give credit to those writers and those creators. Those creators have put so much time and effort in just building upon the legacy of what George Lucas started. And you can just you can escape into that world of Star Wars, whether you're listening to the book or reading it. You know, like how many times do we hear Chris talk about, Charles Soule or Claudia Gray, or who's another, Chuck Wendig, when he's actually writing something well. Like any of those authors in general, even more, Matt Stover. We talk about Timothy Zahn, Matthew Stover, James Luceno. We can keep naming these people. I didn't know who they were prior to
Karen Traviss was a great one too.
Karen Traviss, Troy Denning, like these guys and women are telling great stories, and that's why we love them so much. And I think a lot of times we get upset as Star Wars fans who just love the property so much when we see the movies come out, especially the sequels. Again, we're not trying to bash it. What we're saying is when we get those films, when we know there are rich stories that were already told, just adapt them to live action, because those people really did a hell of a job in bringing great character development, great content, and built and expanded the world of Star Wars.
Oh, exactly. I mean, heck, Milton. Look, I mean, with the Shadows of the Sith book that Chris we brought up to start this podcast. Like, that story to me sounded more intriguing than the Luke arc we got for the sequels. Like him going to Exegol, dealing with these Sith, Anakin. Like, that's all so freaking cool. Like, why not? The hats. Like those are the type of things that just make me like. Like you said, it just, there's so many stories, and then we get the ones that come out on screen, and it's like, wait, what?
Yeah, like who wrote Chris? Who wrote that book, or who's writing that book, the new one?
Adam Christopher. It's the first time author in Star Wars, I believe. Right. His first book. Yeah.
And so I don't know who that author is. And I'm sure I'll probably get that book because it sounds intriguing. But who wrote a lot of the High Republic books, Chris?
Okay, so that is going to be either Claudia Gray, Charles Soule, Justina Ireland, Cavan Scott, Claudia Gray.
Mm-hmm.
I think I said.
Yeah, so all those names are very
Alder.
familiar to me. Yeah, they're very familiar to me. And that's what I'm saying. Like, we got creators out there who write the books, who was like, they should be part of the film process in the sense of writing stories, scripts, screenplays, whatever. Like, I know that's a different world, but you're telling me that you can't adapt their talent, at least take their ideas. Like, I mean, I'm not even kidding you. Like, every one of us here, every one of us who's in the chat can probably all can name 10 of their favorite Star Wars books and say, I wish these were part of the film canon, because they're that good.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I could do a 3-hour solo podcast on all the books. Like that's the thing. There's so many. All the books we've mentioned so far, all deserve to be on screen, in my opinion. Like just imagine a Yuzon Vong television series. Like, that would be fire. Like, those type of things. It's a lot of fun, or it's interesting. Like I mentioned earlier, I think we're getting in a direction where they are improving Luke's character. Like, as we saw, we mentioned in the Shadows of the Sith book, and other things coming out, and potentially Luke in the Mandoverse. So I think we're going to be continuing to get him more and more, which is good. And it's good they're actually looking into some of the Legends materials. I mean, there's no other way around it. Like they're 100% using Legends materials, which I think is great.
That's awesome. I thought that was the original plan moving forward, like when they bought the property. But like I said, I'm gonna try to be positive as I move forward with the material in general. I'm always gonna try to be open to stuff, for sure. Like, I just appreciate the authors that came before and also coming currently. Like, I just love the narratives that are well done, and especially in the literature, media, whether it's books, comics, or audio. I really do. I think that's their strong point, and I would gladly give a shout out to Kathleen Kennedy and say, listen, like when it comes to books and audios and magazines and comics or whatever, you guys you kill it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 100%. They definitely do. And speaking of books, I would say for my next favorite book, how's that transition, guys?
Good job.
But speaking of books, like, see, for me, while we were sitting here discussing this, I was swiping through different books and things. I would say one of my favorite Luke books is the finale to the Legacy of the Force series. It's called Invincible.
Oh yeah.
And see, like, these are the reasons, as we just discussed in our discussion of the state of Luke as it is now. These are the reasons, like, books like this are the reasons why we have such high expectations going into the sequel trilogy and now the Mandoverse for Luke, because in the Invincible book, I'm pretty sure it was this one or it was Revelation, one or the other. It was either that or Invincible. Anyways, so basically you're getting toward the end of that series. Luke is at an all-powerful point because at this point in the timeline, he is basically Force Awakens age. Like, he's in his 60s. And Mara Jade, before she dies, spoiler, before she dies, she's older too. She's, like, I remember there were conversations between him and her, like, about she's worried about her hair is starting to turn a little bit gray and stuff, and this and that. Like, just little personal moments like that really built Luke's character up throughout the series. And, we get to, like, the finale of the series, Invincible, and you have, like, a moment with Luke. I mentioned it before on the podcast. So, like, Jason is, like, the big bad guy, Darth Caedius, I guess, would be his name. He's, like, a bad guy and everything. And, so Luke basically is, like, out in space with his X-Wing, and Jason's, like, basically kind of a little bit struggling. Like, he's basically the model of what Ben ends up being in the sequel trilogy, which is funny because Luke's son in this series is named Ben, actually. Yeah. So anyways, like, Luke is flying, like, in space with his X-Wing and everything, and, like, Jason goes to, like, shoot him down and, like, explodes. His X-Wing literally blows up. And, like, I remember reading this series and I was like, holy smokes, they just killed Luke. Like, how can you kill Luke? Like, this is a Force series. Like, I don't know, that was back when I was, like, in middle school and high school, and it's like, holy smokes, like, how do you kill Luke when he's, like, your flagship character to your franchise? Gosh, I was thinking, I was already ahead of the times. Forget Last Jedi. I was thinking this back in, like, 2007. But anyway, so, like, Luke's ship explodes, and, like, Jason's, like, basically happy that he finally killed his uncle, and now he's pretty much going to be, he's pretty much going to be ruling the galaxy. And then he goes to turn to, like, leave out of the bridge of the Star Destroyer. It's like a modified, basically, Super Star Destroyer, like Darth Vader's was. And he goes to leave, and when he does, like, all of his, like, troops and stuff, and, like, the officers were all pretty much, like, frozen. Like, like, Luke basically was holding them in place. And, like, when he turns around, he was, like, wondering what was going on, and Luke was standing there on the bridge of the ship, inside the ship with him. Like, that's how powerful Luke was at this point. Like, he was just, like, pure Zen, basically. Wow. Where, he could just snap himself out of his X-Wing inside the Star Destroyer, and then him and Jason get into this big fight and everything, and all sorts of stuff. But, like, those type of moments, like, even though some people may have not remembered them, like, some people may have been younger, like, those type of things, even though it's been 15 years, those things are in the subconscious of our Star Wars brains, where it's like, holy smokes, Luke was that powerful. Like, the title of the book's literally Invincible, which that's basically what Luke turned out to be. And that sort of arc with Luke finally showing he's basically, like, the true all-powerful Jedi like that. Like, that's what sets up expectations. Things like, holy smokes, Luke was so powerful, so heroic and everything. And, he still couldn't, like, bring himself to kill, like, Jason just because it was, like, his nephew. But, right. Like, so he was still staying a hero. And, like, those type of things, like, are iconic moments for Luke, even though it's non-canon.
Yeah, right. It's those things that matter when you're reading those books. You read the books, you're like, holy crap! Like we have to see something like this. The magnitude on the screen, just incredible that we have these stories to enjoy that aren't just on
Yeah.
the screen. That the stories can
Well,
continue.
think about that real quick. Like, say we get into the Last Jedi, and we get in there, they're in space or whatever, kind of replay this whole situation. Ben blows up like Luke in the Rebel ship, and then Luke's inside the First Order ship with Ben and all of the First Order troopers. Like, that would be insane. Like,
Yeah.
like that, those type of things. Like, people talk about, like, I've seen people crack jokes about like Star Killer, like, oh, you want to see a guy pull a Star Destroyer out of the sky? Yes, we do. Yes,
Yes.
we do. Like that's yes, we do. That's not just some meme. No, we want to
know
see
why?
that.
Here's the thing, Ben. I'll tell the same people. You want to know why we want that? Because you would want to do it yourself if you had that type of power.
If I had the force, and you see this big thing outside, you could just rip it down. Like,
I'm doing it.
that would be, yeah, like those type of displays of the force, like I said, Luke basically teleporting like that, those type of things. Yeah, we want to see that sort of stuff because that's incredible. And like those are the type of things that have been built up over the years where it's like, and then we get to these moments and people are like, oh, and then Luke turns out the way he does. So like it's just that's just like kind of a realization as fans, like, I guess you have to like mega like lower your expectations as far as possible because that's happened, but at least we're kind of on a rebound now with Luke and things like that. But yeah, I would say that's one of my other favorite Luke stories, just like him showing his like true raw power in like the finale of that series. And like I said, that was when he was like 60s, almost 70 years old at that time. Because so the Legacy of the Force series, the cool part back in the day, for a little history lesson for like Star Wars fans who haven't dove into the Legends material too much, or like heck, even you, Chris, like this is a little history lesson for you. So like the cool thing is when it comes to these old Legends books, like they roughly kind of followed a similar canon where the authors had their freedoms and stuff, but they still kind of roughly stuck to the same thing. So like the Legacy of the Force series and the new Jedi Order series, they aren't taking place in the same time period. Like the Legacy of the Force series jumps like 30 years after the events of the Yuzon Vong series. So, you have Luke when he's younger in the new Jedi Order stuff, and then it jumps. And the cool part is like the early parts, like the Legacy of the Force series is referencing a little bits and pieces of the new Jedi Order stuff. So there's still little connections here and there that value reading the other, like the Yuzon Vong series.
So that was your second one, right?
Yep.
Okay, so we're gonna I'm gonna do one, and then we'll each go around one more time. We'll give one more. So my second one is a video game. And it's Battlefront 2. So Battlefront 2 had these like little vignettes of different characters and different levels where it would kind of stray from Iden Versio's journey. And one of them is where you're Luke Skywalker on Pilio, and you're going around, and Inferno Squad is down there with I forget the guy's name, Del Miko.
No.
And you have basically Luke going into one of the many observatories of the Emperor that had left behind like these vast collections of Force artifacts and stuff, and Del Miko like gets spared by Luke. So that to me was pretty cool because you get to see like this big moment for Del Miko, who's all his soldiers die, and Luke just gives some sage advice and basically is like, hey, like, you're not trying to kill me or something, I'm not going to kill you or something like that. So it's like it kind of shifts Del Miko's viewpoint. Like Luke has enough power to shift his character's viewpoint to where we see him like 30 years in the future and what he's doing then, based off of what Luke gave him as advice back then. Plus, you got cool little connections where he finds like the compass that we eventually see him with on the one planet of Ahch-To in The Last Jedi. So there's some connective tissue there. But it was a cool time to see Luke like a little bit like within a year or so after The Force Awakens, and we're seeing Luke going around the galaxy, collecting all these Jedi artifacts, and that's how he has to learn because he doesn't have anybody to teach him. He's got to learn from holocrons. He's got to learn from like ancient Jedi texts. I guess every once in a while he'll get like a force ghost call from Obi-Wan or Luke or maybe even Anakin, but for the most part he's self-reliant on learning himself, and I love that, and I want to see more of that. I think that could be a great book series right there, like before we see Luke in the Mandalorian. Like, what's that 5-year gap of him going? What planets does he go to? What things from the Old Republic does he find? And all that. I think that could be like a cool like book trilogy or something. So I know you guys, at least Ben, probably played through that level, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I actually played that level too. I
Cool.
had the second game. I actually liked the second one better than the first one. I remember that, which was dope because I'm thinking, oh, maybe we'll get more Luke story, whether it's in a game or just Star Wars material moving forward. But I think it was a good, I guess, cameo for Luke.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like I think I agree with you, Chris. I think when it comes to that, yeah, that's a perfect idea. Like a little trilogy potentially for the 5-year span for Luke. I do feel like though the way they're leaving those little gaps for potential, I think, animated series. I really do believe that. Like maybe a 5-year series, like we might get an animated Luke Lando type show, or animated Luke the guy at the beginning of the Force Awakens show, the old guy.
Santeca.
Lord
Santeca.
Oh, Santeca. Yeah, Lord Santeca. Like I think that's maybe what they're saving maybe those 5 years for, or maybe even it may just end up being in the Mandoverse era anyways. But yeah, I think that's a really good again, like as I mentioned earlier, like I just love seeing Luke connected to the Force, like things related around it, etc. Like, and that's a good idea for a book trilogy right there.
So we're gonna go over to Milton. We're gonna do our final round of some of our favorite Luke
Okay.
Skywalker stories.
This is from a video game as well. And I played this. I've been playing this game for the last couple weeks, but it's the add-on DSL to the Force Unleashed game. Whenever Dark Starkiller is searching for Luke and those guys on Hoth, and he fights Luke on Hoth, and Luke is like, he's tough. Like Luke is not a Jedi yet, but he's been learning the Force. But how they do his character is really cool because he's like, I'm not scared of you. He's like, just like it's like I killed you. And Starkiller says, I killed your father, Darth Vader. He's like, no, my father was a whatever he was. He's like, no, like he was Darth Vader, and he didn't know clearly. And then Luke gets his ass whipped by the Dark Starkiller. And what's cool about that, and I forgot, was whenever Luke's getting wrecked, it shows the Millennium Falcon escaping like it does in Empire Strikes Back. But instead of them escaping, Starkiller holds it with the Force. And he's like, either I'm going to kill your friends or you like give into the dark side and like, join me. And Luke actually gives into the dark side and uses like red Force lightning and like sets his friends free. And then he becomes the Dark Starkiller's apprentice. And that's that's how the level ends.
Oh wow,
Like it's
crazy.
cool, man. Like I don't know if you played that DLC of it, Chris, but like that level's dope because like there's 3 of them. There's 3 DLCs for the Force Unleashed. It's obviously the Dark Starkiller looking for Luke Skywalker. That's what it's set up. But he goes to Tatooine where he fights Boba Fett. He whips him, and then he fights Ben Kenobi. Ben Kenobi gets wrecked, but he allows him to escape from Tatooine. Pretty much, you go through the movie from like the first like part. It's dope. So it's pretty cool. So I love that. So I love how Luke gets wrecked by the Dark Starkiller and becomes his apprentice.
That is pretty cool. Like it's like the what if Star Wars.
What if? Yeah, it's pretty much because actually, speaking of Luke, and the Force Awakens or the Force Unleashed 2, I believe this happens also. Ben, do you remember that extra DLC where they go to what's the forest planet? Endor.
Endor. Yep.
And he's hunting down Han Solo. He kills Han Solo, kills Chewie. Oh yeah, it's dope. It's dope how they do it.
That's.
But then Leia, he gets to Leia, and she's like, well, yeah, ever since my brother fell at Hoth, I've been studying the ways of the Jedi, and
Oh,
she fights Dark Starkiller.
what? With a
And
lightsaber?
yeah, oh yeah, it's fight, dude.
You gotta play it, Chris.
Chris,
I played it.
on
I just
both
don't
so good.
remember any of this.
yeah, Chris. Actually, no, go on YouTube and watch the videos, but playing it's fire too. Yeah, because
Damn.
then at the end of that episode, you see again they cut to a shot from Return of the Jedi where Palpatine's in a chair saying, you know, we're going to destroy the rebellion, blah, blah, blah. But then he looks at Vader. He's like, oh, you think I didn't know you were going to use your guy to try to stop me? And he like wrecks Vader. And then he sends his like battalion of Star Destroyers to kill the Dark Star Killer. And he's meditating on Endor. And then it cuts to black.
Oh, man.
Like, it's fire. Dude, I'm telling you, we need that story. You know what I'm saying? Let's be real here.
Wow. What do you have to say to
Yeah,
that,
we
Ben?
definitely.
Dude, it's dope. Like, I mean, but
Oh.
yeah, it's a dope story. But the Luke part is fire. I love that because I just love how they show Luke falling into the dark side.
Mm-hmm.
See, we need that. Now we need just do a what if animated series then at that.
You
Legit,
you ain't
just
lying.
Like Marvel.
so
just like
pretty much
Marvel.
what they can do. That's a good idea. Speaking of Luke stories, and I'm gonna let whoever's going next go in a minute. But if we did a what if, let's say a 3-season, 10 episodes what if of Star Wars stories based around Luke or whatever, or the original trilogy characters. Imagine using these stories that, okay, these are what ifs. This would satisfy me as a fan. Just saying.
Oh, 100%. Like, I think honestly, God, I don't want to sound like, hey, let's just blow up all the animated TV shows and do what if, but for filler series, when they don't have things on the roster to work off of, like new movies or new live action shows or new animated series like Bad Batch or whatever, when you have blanks in the content calendar, they could easily do an 8 to 10 episode what if series. Just do it here and there. Don't even make it 3 seasons. Just make it when it's convenient for you.
Yeah,
and like,
just keep building off of it.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I think that would be, man. Come on, Disney, call
Disney,
me,
call-
Milton, and Chris. Like,
Facts. Well, we got you. You know what I'm saying? Come on, we got you. Like, we got your next moneymaker.
yeah,
Like you cut us in for 15% a piece. We're good.
hey, 15%. I take that. That's a good
Just
rate.
Oh my
saying,
gosh,
I ain't-
we're rich.
I ain't
for
trying to be
generations.
greedy. Like,
Well, as
So-
Boba Fett would say, we're all gonna be rich. But
Oh man.
yeah, like, see, that's a hard one to top because that is a great, like, that makes me want to actually download that game and play it like now.
Fire, dude. Yeah.
Because it's just such a great Luke story. And again, even though it's like obviously not anything related to continuing the actual Star Wars story, just a what if story of Luke being on the dark side like that is great.
Right.
I think that's a excellent choice.
Yeah. So, what about you, Ben? We're getting down to the wire here. We have our last 2 submissions.
Yeah,
What do you
that's
think?
a tough one. Well, all right, I'll throw out one real quick, and then I'll throw out like my main one. So, I think one really cool appearance now that Milton got on like the video game topic. I feel like one of the Luke's most iconic and fun video game experiences is the Masters of Terraskasi video game, just because it's just a straight up fighting game where you can just load in as Luke.
I
you
didn't
can
even
just
know that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
No, it's a great game. So like, look, you got to look at the gameplay of it. It's a fun freaking game. So it's late '90s. You can get it for PS1, the original Xbox, I believe, and GameCube actually, I think even. Anyways, so all you do, there's like no campaign whatsoever, none. All you do, it's a 2-player game, or I guess you could face the computer, but you can load in as they have. See, again, this is the cool part. This shows you the popularity of Mara Jade, and this is why we need her in some form of something. But in that game, Mara Jade's a playable character you can fight with lightsabers and everything, because that was, right after the Thrawn trilogy. So they incorporated her into that video game. And so, you could load in, and all it is like a button mashing, game where you and someone else, it's like, 3D, kind of 3D graphics for the time, fighting. You can battle like Luke versus like Slave Leia, or Luke versus Chewbacca, or all these sorts of things, and it's just a blast of a game. So yeah, like Luke's appearance in that, like, it's just a fighting game, but again, it's just fun. Like, see, those are the type of things. I mean, heck, this is a whole podcast for another day, but those are the type of fun things we miss in Star Wars gaming. Like, that's just load up with your buddies and just battle it out. Like, that was always a lot of fun.
Yeah, I remember going to the video store back when, those existed, and renting Terrascasi 2 or 3 times, just hating it. Like, I just didn't get I just didn't get the concept of fighting games. And I was like, well, I'm just mashing this box button or this triangle button, or square or triangle, and the guy's just doing this or that. I'm like, I want to use a lightsaber and just kill fools. Like, what is this side-by-side fighting action? And I never was a fighting game fan from a kid, so that for me, it was just like, this is stupid. I want to play another Star Wars game.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that game was fun. But yeah, just I had to throw that in there as like an honorable mention. And fun fact for anybody, like, that's the fighting style that Kira learned, actually. So, like, it's cool that, her fighting style is the name of that old classic game. But for my overall, like, I think big submission about Luke, it's hard to pinpoint the exact moment, I would say, but I feel like it's just, I think Luke from Legends in general as a whole, like, I know that's such like a blanket statement saying, hey, every piece of Luke content in Legends is great, but for the most part, it really is. Like, all of Luke's appearances in Legends were all good. Like, I don't remember a bad Luke moment from Legends. I really don't. But like, I think one of his biggest moments overall in Legends was his character development when it came to Mara Jade, because he goes from, in like the Thrawn trilogy, he goes from basically having her trying to kill him to marrying and having kids with her. Like, that's a big extreme, if you ask me. Like, someone's trying to murder you and you're just end up falling in love with them. And because basically, he's just like Anakin, he saw the good in her still, and she eventually turned and, ended up marrying and having kids with him and everything. And like, I think it just shows, like, his character arc with Mara Jade just shows what the fans really like about him so much. Like, Luke, always having such a good heart about things, still being a badass, like, and his whole arc with Mara Jade, I think, was a really iconic moment for Luke's character as a whole, Legends or canon otherwise, just because it shows, how he grew as a character just from being basically like this powerful Jedi Knight to like, oh, I have to forgive this chick who was trying to kill me because I actually like her. Like, so I think that would be my final Luke story that I really enjoy, is like his overall arc with Mara Jade from the time they were enemies to the time, eventually when she ended up dying. So like, I just think their overall arc was really well done.
Yeah, right. Because currently, right now, that Luke has never had any kind of romance. Okay, I'll take that back. He's had romantic interests for very short periods of time in the comics, for like a couple issues, and the girl is either dead or they just move on, or one of the books or whatever. But for the most part, like post Return of the Jedi, he's very much just more concentrated on himself and his students that are going to be coming into his care as a tutor and all that for the Force. So that to me is pretty cool. But yeah, that's something that is huge. You see so many when you go to conventions. You see so many cosplayers as Mara Jade. So many of them. Yeah. It's just such a big character that got put into play. People like the romance, and we haven't had 2 Jedi like that, and then having kids that are also Force sensitive. It's just so cool. It spawns off to a family legacy.
And the fact, that she was under the Emperor, like, I think that's what adds, like, to the overall intrigue of her character and Luke's character combined, is like Luke's gotten a relationship with the Emperor's right-hand assassin. Like, that is pretty intense, if you ask me, because I don't know how many people would get in a relationship with somebody like that.
I mean, you're not wrong, but if she looked like Beyonce, I'm hollering at her.
Well, facts. I mean,
She's fire.
I mean, from all the different things we've seen of her, I mean, she's a good-looking redhead chick. So.
That's what I mean. Like they did something right. Luke was like, "Damn, I don't care if she's trying to off me. She right."
Yeah.
You know, Luke was thinking that. You know what I'm saying?
He's
Luke was
like,
thinking,
man, I spent all those years.
Girl built right.
I spent all those years on Tatooine, and whoa. Like, I think with him though, it just it is a really good character arc with him, and it just made his character more relatable, I think. Just because it shows like, hey, you can forgive people for what they did, even though that's the most extreme possible thing, trying to kill you. So like I just think that was a really good arc for Luke's character as a whole. And I just think it was just really well done. And I don't remember if it was one of you two that sent me the video, or it might have been I just saw it on Twitter, but it was cool because like at a celebration or something, I saw like there was a Luke proposing to a Mara Jade cosplayer there. Or it was like at a Comic-Con or something, but it was really cool because it was
that was at New York Comic-Con this year.
Okay, because I remember you might have sent it to us, Chris, or something, but I remember seeing that somewhere just recently. So
I have a video on my YouTube channel. You guys can watch it. So just search New York Comic-Con 2022.
Okay, that's probably where I saw it.
And you'll see it's like in the middle of the video, they're doing a duel, and there's like a whole circle of us watching, and none of us knew it was happening. And all of a sudden, the guy just gets down and flips out a ring out of nowhere. It's like, wait, what? Like, that wasn't part of the duel.
See, like, that's the impact of like that Luke arc with Mara Jade. It turned out to be a real life wedding. So like, I don't know. I just think Luke's character's done really well and like humanized really well. And like even so, for example, when like Mara Jade gets killed, I'm pretty sure it's Jason that kills her too. Like Luke's also...
Jason does it. Jason kills her.
Yep.
Spoiler.
But like you have that happen, and the cool part is like the way Luke goes, like he doesn't directly go down the path of like I need to go off my nephew just because he killed her. Like that wasn't his reason. His reasoning was basically like this guy's going to be the next Darth Vader type deal. It wasn't even having to do with Mara Jade basically. So
and
like
what's funny about that? Do you remember Ben Skywalker was the one who wanted revenge.
Ben was 100%. Ben was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just a cool reflection of how Luke's character grew. Because I mean, even when his wife gets killed, he's not going to kill his nephew because of that. It's because of like basically the other actual galactic implications. So yeah, I don't know, his character. It just was done really well throughout that whole Legends run, I would say.
Yeah, agreed. And the last one for me is another video game. And that is Star Wars Jedi Knight 2 Jedi Outcasts, whereas you play Kyle Katarn. For a large amount of the game, you're a first person, just going around like a smuggler scoundrel and just taking on Imperial Remnant soldiers. And then at one point, you end up going to Yavin, the temple at Yavin, and none other than Luke Skywalker shows up at his Jedi Academy, and it's like, holy crap, that's when the game really gets big. The game opens up because it's like, this is awesome. And from that moment forward, the game's basically a third-person action-adventure game. And you're doing like missions with Luke. At one point, you like go to this Imperial cruiser and you're fighting like dark Jedi side by side, like doing backflips over the ships in the hangar bay. And I just remember playing that mission over and over again because it's like, I'm fighting by Luke after Return of the Jedi. He's a Jedi Master. This is just so freaking cool. I've played that game so many times. Talk about a game that needs to be made. Maybe Respawn Entertainment's next first-person shooter could be like a reboot of that or something. That'd be sick.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, Chris. Back in winter, back in like November, December, I actually was replaying that level. I have that game actually on my Xbox because, fun fact for anybody that has an Xbox, I'm sure it's on PlayStation. Yeah, it's on the Xbox store. I have it. It was only $10. Yeah, but it yeah, that game, I was playing that exact level, actually. I replayed that one probably 3 or 4 times back during the holiday seasons, just because, like you said, it's fun, like, fighting around Luke, like, playing through that game, getting to the point where, like you said, you go to Yavin, and it's like, holy smokes, this is Luke. Like this is what we want. And this is, even though this is an old game with shaky graphics and stuff, like, it's still holds up because the story is there, and like it's so much fun how Luke's character was done.
Yeah, what about this one, Milton? Had you played this game?
This is Jedi Temple Outcast, you said?
Yeah, Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast.
Jedi Knight. No, I actually surprised I haven't played that. Because what system was that for?
I think it was on the original Xbox.
Okay, because
Yeah, it
I
had
didn't
to
have.
be. It had to be.
Yeah, so I wasn't an Xbox kid growing up. That's why. So like, we got
I think it was-
Xbox later, and I
Could've been
didn't
on
play this
PS2.
game.
Oh,
we
I had it on
played.
GameCube. I had it on freaking
Okay.
Nintendo GameCube. Yeah, you would have had to have it on PS2, I think, if you had PS2.
Yeah, we grew up in a house. We had PlayStation, and we got Xbox later. So we had gotten Knights of the Old Republic when that came out.
Yeah.
But we didn't get Fallen or the Jedi Temple Outcasting. I never played it. I need to. It sounds like I need to play it.
Oh,
Yeah.
and the cool thing about it is, Milton, you get to design your character, right, Chris? I'm pretty sure.
No, that was Jedi Academy.
Oh, okay.
Which is the following
okay.
game, yeah.
Oh, okay. Actually, you know what? I was playing Jedi Academy then. Jedi Academy. I was playing through there because Luke was in that game too, and you go on missions with him in that game. But yeah, like Luke, his character, see, it's done well even in video games. Like I'm really excited to see where they take his character as a whole, moving forward. You know, just hopefully it's done really well. Like as of right now, they're on a good arc, I feel like, with Luke. And it's just, I feel like it's all uphill, or I guess what's the saying? All downhill from here. It's all going in a good direction, I guess. Whatever that saying is.
Yeah, so everybody in the chat, let us know what your favorite Star Wars Luke Skywalker stories are. After the fact, you can let us know. Hey, you can always shout us out on Twitter using hashtag #OutRoomTransmission. Let us know some of your favorite Luke Skywalker stories. So we don't have a lot of news this week, which is fine because we took a good hour and a half just talking about Luke Skywalker, and I could do that every week until I die, basically, because he's my favorite Star Wars character. So much to say about him. But we have some casting news. This is coming to us from, I had to restart my computer, so I don't have my notes in front of me anymore. This comes to us from, I think, Variety or The Hollywood Reporter. It's one of the two. Christopher Lloyd is going to be back in, or not be back, for the first time, will be in Star Wars The Mandalorian Season 3. So yes, our Back to the Future 3 guy, I had just seen him in Nobody, which is a great movie, by the way. It's basically like another John Wick type of movie, but with the guy that plays Saul Goodman and what is it? Breaking Bad. The actor's name is Bob Odenkirk. Great movie, and you have Christopher Lloyd in there. That's like the crazy like father that is like 80 something years old that is like shooting shotguns at the end. It's like an Avenger moment. So that's what I've seen him in recently. But what are your guys' expectations? Do you guys have any idea on what kind of character he could be playing? What are your thoughts?
I mean, look, I like Christopher Lloyd. He's a great actor. I mean, he's obviously Doc Brown from Back to the Future. He was in Dennis the Menace as the villain. He's been in other films that I don't remember off the top of my head, but he's a great actor. I honestly wasn't excited about this news just because he's 80 something years old in real life.
83.
So it's not like he's going to be doing any type of action. Is he going to contribute to the story? Yeah, in some way, shape, or form. I could see him being used like they did Nick Nolte, where they, had like a CGI character, or, they use his voice or something. I can see them doing it that way with Christopher Lloyd. I don't see him. I don't see us seeing his face unless he's just like sitting there talking to a character.
Oh, I agree with you on that, Milton. I think he's not going to be an action-packed character, but I think I've actually just thinking about it on the spot. I think a perfect role for him, and I'm already picturing it now. I think he's going to be working with, the Camino Dr. Pershing. I bet you he's going to be a Camino inductor with Dr. Pershing. I really could see that being a role for him. Like, sure, I guess it's stereotype. Like, hey, he's a scientist, so he's going to be a scientist in Star Wars. But that would be a perfect role for him, and he wouldn't have to do anything because, all the scientists in Star Wars, for what we know, just stand around pretty much. So, like, I think maybe we might see him eventually being a scientist. Whenever we get to Dr. Pershing's lab or whatever, maybe Christopher Lloyd's going to be one of his other coworkers.
Yeah.
That could be interesting. That's a good guess there, Ben. As far as what I think, I think he could just be like, hey, I think he could be just like a bartender, some guy
You're not
that
wrong.
just gives them information. Mando's like, hey, how do I find this item, or how do I do this? And he's just an informant of some degree, or just a friendly face, you know.
Well, that, or unless they want to go real on the nose and kind of reference Back to the Future in some way or another, like have something like Mando having trouble starting his ship or something, and Christopher Lloyd helps out with some like clever thing or whatever, like saying how fast the ship has to fly, or like, I don't know, just something I could see something meta being in the show as well, like that, just because that's I feel like a really common thing with anything nowadays in terms of media.
I mean, we've been pretty quiet. Things have been pretty quiet with any leaks as far as like casting. I feel like by this time last year, we were like, okay, we know Boba Fett's gonna be in a show. We know that different Mandalorians. We know that Ahsoka Tano's gonna be in it. Like, it was crazy how many characters like got leaked beforehand. And so far, I guess they kind of figured how to keep the lid on the jar a little bit tighter this time around.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
definitely.
absolutely. I mean, they Star Wars knows what they're doing. Come on, they know.
Well, see, it always makes me wonder too, like these quote unquote leaks. I really wonder if they're leaks or if they just release it on purpose to just gauge fan reaction and then adjust. Like that's what I always wonder when it comes to some of these leaks, because it's like, are these really straight up leaks? Like, do you really have a mole in your company? Or is it just, hey, Kathy calling up someone at PR saying, hey, leak this out to the Variety today for us? Like, it always makes me wonder something like that as well. Because you do have other leakers, like, you have Star Wars Newsnet and Making Star Wars and people like that know people that leak. But I feel like when you have big leaks from like the Hollywood Reporter and Variety, it's like, it makes me wonder, like, is it just Star Wars calling those companies saying, hey, leak this for us?
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. That whole culture, how that happens. It's like, just put it out officially to some degree. I don't know. Just like, hey, we got these actors playing these characters. Oh well.
Well, that's the big thing. I mean, we've talked about it for, I feel like, years now, ever since we started this podcast. Like, when it comes to Star Wars, like, just communicate. Like, if instead of Variety putting this out, why not Star Wars do a little 2-minute interview with Christopher Lloyd on their YouTube channel announcing it? Like, I think that would be a lot more fun for the fans than just, Variety put it out or Hollywood Reporter put it out or whoever. Like, I wish Star Wars would control the news like that, because then that would help them so much. And then in comparison, like, I feel like a lot of the Marvel news we're in the same company here. I feel like a lot of the Marvel news actually comes from Marvel related people or accounts, not specifically Hollywood Reporter or those things. Like, it's literally like the Marvel Twitter account tweeting out, hey, we casted this person or whatever. Yep. Or one of the directors going, hey guys, like James Gunn going, hey guys, look at, so it's whoever and whoever's concept art, we're doing these for, the next movie. Like those type of things are coming from Marvel, and then here's Star Wars. They're like, no, let's just leak it out. Like, why not just let who's an example? Like, let Bryce Dallas Howard. Like, for example, I guess you can't leak out Mace Windu because that's too huge. But why not, like, say this, if Bryce Dallas Howard's going to be the one doing Christopher Lloyd's couple episodes that he's in, why not have her announce it versus someone else, versus an outside source? Like, I just wish Star Wars would control their own narrative like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Their marketing is always questionable, and we'll probably always stay that way with the ways that things have been going. Now, this one I called out Milton on. This is the last story of the week here. This is the one I called out Milton on because he was going on about how cool his office looks and about how in some of his calls he's got his prevalent Boba Fett helmet in the background, which is always pretty badass if you ask me. It's like, yeah, I got a Boba Fett helmet. What do you think about that? Lego has gone ahead and revealed 3 new Lego diorama sets, which are really neat. They're, if you could look on, StarWars.com, they have a Dagobah Luke training scene with Yoda. You have a really cool like side angle shot of the Death Star trench run, and then you also have the Death Star trash compactor. What I really like about these is they're very compressed, and they almost look like the adult version of Legos, if you will, because it's like a nice collector item. It's like you have the stand that has like the scene, and it has like the dialogue there on the stand. And it just looks really cool because you have these like very self-contained little like vignettes of scenes, and some of them are cool. At least the one I see like interactive, like you can actually like push the walls closer and closer together, and then you flip it around and you see like the droids on the other end connecting. I don't know if the ship one. I really like the one with the fighters in the trench because it's like everything's miniaturized, but it's from a side angle, so it looks like you're playing like a side scroller video game or something. Like they all have that kind of appearance. But yeah, these would look really great like in your background of your various video conferences or something, Milton.
Yeah, that's funny. And for those who don't know, like I said, you're listening, I do have a shelf behind my desk where that Boba Fett helmet is there with various other Star Wars items that I showed the boys. And I probably need to add something new. And I think I actually should get like a mini like Lego set. I think that would be I think it'd be cool just because it'd be nice to have one in my office. Not anyone in my office has a Lego set, so I could be the first one to say that. So I think when I go to my next toy collectible show, which should be coming up in the next couple of weeks, if they have a miniature Lego set, I would say about this big, I might consider getting one and put one together and put in my office.
Yeah. Now, which one of the 3 would you buy? If you could only choose one.
List the 3 again for me?
You got a Dagobah set with Yoda's hut, R2, Yoda, Luke. You got the Death Star trench run with 2 miniature TIE fighters, the X-Wing, and you have the trash compactor with all of our usual suspects, Chewie, Han, Luke, the droids, Leia.
Yeah, I'm going with the trench run. That describes me. That needs to be in there. Yeah. I can put it probably next to the helmet, or I can put it next to the Star Wars postcards that I still have wrapped up that are still in there. I haven't taken those out yet, so I can sit them next to that if I purchase that type of set.
Yeah, because the way I would decide on that one too, just simply from the unique factor. Like I feel like we've gotten sets of like Yoda's hut and stuff before. Now I would be up against the trash compactors simply because of the playability of like, hey, look, when I show somebody the set, I could be like, hey, look, and it does this, and I can like crush them together. And that's a lot of fun playability, but like you can't beat like the 2 TIE fighters in the X-Wing. I'm looking at them.
Oh, facts.
Again, just like looks so cool.
Yeah, like I said, it's dope. I mean, Lego. I think, look, we've all been fans of Lego when we were children, and even as adults. Again, you guys like the video games. I don't. I like the actual like toys. If I mean, God forbid, if someone paid me to play with Legos all day, I think I would take that job. Just saying, because Legos are awesome. But yeah, I think having a miniature Lego set in any type of capacity of your work will be dope because that brings back a lot of good memories for people. Lego is very much a very positive thing for children and for adults, unless you were one of those weirdo kids that ate them all the time, and choked to death. But, Lego's always been positive to me and most adults I know. So it's like, hey, why not have something like that in your office? I think it's very professional. It's very classy, and it's kind of like it's useful. You know what I'm saying? It brings about a lot of usefulness to the office or to the environment that you're in.
Oh, exactly. That's the big thing, Milton, when it comes to the Lego sets and even Star Wars as a whole. Like, I feel like a lot of people get in this attitude of like, oh man, I'm growing up. I'm in my 20s or in my 30s or in my 40s, and that means I can't do like have these like little fun things anymore, like Lego sets or video games or whatever. And it's like, what's stopping people from that? Like why do you have to become a curmudgeony, grouchy old adult? Like, just have fun with your life. And like these type of like Lego sets are awesome, especially because they're iconic moments, like the trash compactor. Everybody
Right.
always, you'll remember that. The trench run, you'll remember that. Of course, Dagobah, you'll remember all that. Like, those are iconic moments, and I just think those type of things, even for like an office space like yours, like a little trench run setup there on your shelf, like that would be
Yeah.
cool, just because it's like, hey, everybody remembers that. Like, if anybody's seen the original Star Wars, which there's a good chance people working in an office, they're in their 30s, 40s, whatever, 50s, they've seen A New Hope. So like they'll go, oh, I remember when that happened. That's
Yeah.
really cool. You have a little Lego setup
Yeah.
of this.
For sure.
There you go. Again, I love looking at this stuff, but I just don't have any room, as you guys can tell from my background anymore. I still
You might have
got
to get a storage unit or something at this point, Chris.
Yeah, I need to unbox a bunch of Black Series figures, but the problem is I haven't done so because, well, where am I gonna put them? I just gotta put the other ones in
Yeah.
storage, and I keep telling myself that. Um, I already got to pat myself on the back just from simply getting those comics I was talking about organized. I know they were sitting there for months,
Right.
so work on one thing at a time. I'm one step closer to maybe dragging out the old bins there from 30 years ago to 20 years ago to put some stuff back in there. Um, but yeah, so another fun show where we didn't have a lot to talk about news, but that's perfectly fine because these discussions we have on various things in Star Wars, such as Luke Skywalker's many stories, is always something that, when it comes down to Star Wars fans, this is the stuff we live for. It's just having long, in-depth discussions about stuff that we love and what we enjoy, and that's what brings us together as Star Wars fans. So thanks, guys, for joining me tonight. I know we had some technical difficulties. Some of you are probably wondering why we weren't going live, and that's why I try to stress most of the time around 9 o'clock Eastern. Usually by 9:30, if something goes wrong, I'm going to just put it out there somehow. Even if you can't see my
Right.
face like what happened earlier, but I'm happy I was able to kind of ad hoc put this thing together at the end. So there you go. You audio listeners don't have to worry about that. But if you ever do want to chime in, like I said, 9 o'clock Eastern, Fridays is when you can see us here on youtube.com/Starrapter. If you want to go ahead and download the show, go ahead. And we would love to see some more support on the podcast side of things. So if you're on the way to the gym, if you're just going to the shopping market, whatever, go ahead and download us. And you can find us on any kind of Spotify, Google playlist, any kind of Apple or whatever. You'll find us somewhere. And if you can't find us somewhere, let me know, and I'll try to figure out how I can fix that for everybody out there. Go ahead and rate us as well. You can do that on Spotify now. Please give us a 5 out of 5-star ranking if you could. That'll help us be more visible for more listeners in the future. So what are you guys up to this week? I know we can find Ben at Real Ben Maynard on Twitter. We can find Milton at Milton Weber 7 on Twitter. What are you guys going to be talking about this week?
For me, okay, go first, Ben. I got you.
Oh, okay. For me, it's nice. I'm home alone for a week, so it's just nice. I can just kind of chill, like just don't have to deal with anybody. So it's nice just being by myself. So I'm gonna be tonight. Actually, when we get done with this podcast, I'm probably gonna actually meal prep tonight because it's like, oh hey, I don't have to worry about anybody sleeping, so I can just meal prep, get it done with, and then go about my weekend. So I'm probably gonna meal prep after this podcast, and probably just kind of play some video games. I'm probably gonna rewatch the first episode of the Halo series because I absolutely loved it. Thought it was great. Anybody that's seen Halo or even just wants to check out a new kind of sci-fi action series, be sure to check that out on Paramount Plus. Like, that is a great show.
And it's doing very well for Paramount. I was seeing they put out an article on Deadline saying it's the most popular Paramount show's ever been. And that's saying a lot considering that they have the entire Star Trek franchise on there. And it still hasn't done as good as Halo. So that says a lot. I know it got renewed for season 2. I've also watched this show. I really like it a lot. I want to say I love it, but I'm not quite there yet with one episode. I do have some misgivings about the episode. But overall, a video game story like Halo, yeah, you could expect it's a more generic storyline, but they actually paid homage pretty well. And I'll keep things short because this isn't a Halo podcast, but I'm looking forward to the next episode. I'll say that.
Oh yeah, it
Nice.
was excellent. And then just one other thing to throw out for our listeners, and hey, to remind both of you, even I just looked at the date. We are exactly 2 months away from Kenobi. From today, 2 months from today, it's
Yep.
Kenobi, May
Yep.
25th. So we are in the end game. We're getting closer. So
And that, yeah.
I can't wait. And then you're heading down to Celebration, and
Yep.
hopefully you'll get to see even more than just the first episode.
Oh man, like right now I'd be sitting probably in a giant auditorium watching the episode with 1,000 Star Wars fans. Hopefully. I mean, come on, that's such a softball. Like
And the
just
cast. And
yeah,
the
just have
cast.
like a cool like Wednesday night experience where it's like Ewan walks out and Hayden, and I would just like everybody would lose their minds and people would have like heart attacks because they would be like, oh my gosh, no. Hopefully nobody has heart attacks, but you know what I mean. But yeah, I'm getting ready. I'm kind of doing my planning. Like they did announce the first guest for Celebration. By the way, this week I didn't mention that. We have Ian McDermott. We have Ahsoka Tana herself, Ashley Eckstein. We have Doug Chang. We have Anthony Daniels. So for right now, it's the usual suspects. These people tend to show up at every celebration. So nothing shocking yet, but I'm sure we're going to get updates probably almost every week because, like we know, we're about only 2 months. There's a lot more stuff for them to announce. So we're looking forward to that. I know there was a report that came out earlier this week. GamesBeat said that basically the Jedi Fallen Order 2 trailers dropping at Celebration, which, I mean, what else would they be showing besides that? That's when the first one appeared. So, yes, a bunch of real quick stories I gave to you guys in my outro. But yeah, that's cool. That's cool. A lot of cool stuff to look forward to.
Yeah, so for my weekend, honestly, I'm hanging out with some friends this weekend, doing some family stuff. I always do my workouts and my fitness stuff. I'm on top of that. So if you guys follow me mostly on Instagram, if you follow me on Instagram at all, you're gonna see that. But nah, this weekend's gonna be chill, man. Actually, what I need to do, Star Wars related, is start rewatching the Clone Wars again because my brother and I he's been getting back into it. He just says how great it is, and I'm thinking you're not wrong. So I need to get back into watching Clone Wars. So I might binge some of that on Sunday.
Yes, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I mean, I've started watching a couple of the episodes with my girlfriend, and it's a lot of fun. Oh, real quick, this is like a live thing I'm doing right now. They just put out the panel schedule, and this might pertain to Milton for the what is this? The convention I was talking about, the
Oh,
Fan
the Fan
Expo
Expo.
Philly. I'm looking to see
Yeah.
if there's any Star Wars panels. Oh, there's some pretty big names here. Oh, there's no rematch. There's a Carl Weathers Q&A. That's 6 p.m. on Friday. I know this is riveting podcasting as I'm live searching through the panel list because I've been checking every day and they hadn't updated it yet. So we have I'm going to talk about all the Star Wars stuff happening. So Carl Weathers has a panel Friday. There's also a panel with Steve Bloom who does the voice of Zeb on Friday. So please bear with me here because holy crap, there's a lot of programming here. I know that Dark Nerdy Gonzo said April 10th they're in Woodbridge or some kind of toy event. If you guys are in the tri-state area, you might want to check that out. And there's the 501st Legion. There's a panel there introducing them. That's on Saturday. That would be April 9th. So
April 9th, yeah.
April 8th, which is Friday, is going to have Carl Weathers. It's going to also have Steve Bloom. Looking through. They actually had the guy that played Darth Maul one year there. Not the original actor.
Oh.
Not Sam
Oh,
Witwer.
you mean the voice actor? It's like Peter Serafinowicz or something.
Yeah.
Oh no. Ray Park was there before.
Ray
Oh,
Park.
okay.
I thought you meant the voice. I'm sorry.
Here we go. We got the Ming-Na Wen panel on Saturday at 2:00.
Nice.
Dang.
So, looking through, I think there was like one or two more Star Wars celebrities that were on the list. and then I'm gonna have to go to Sunday. I should have been looking this up when we were doing this, but I didn't realize they updated it. All right, and then let's see if Sunday. So it looks like so far this is in Philadelphia from April 8th to the April 10th. So it's literally in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So it's looking like right now there is Star Wars people on Friday and Saturday. So if you're looking for something to do that weekend, go ahead, check it out. I've had a good time at the Philly Comic Con. It's right there in Center City, Philly, downtown Philly. I know they're being taken over this time around. That used to be Wizard World, but it's actually owned by Fan Expo, who is largely done conventions in Canada. Up in Toronto, they've done like Fan Expo. My friend Dominic from Star Wars Underworld knows a lot about this organizer. So apparently they're pretty good. So I'll be there. I'm going to iron out my plans. I'm definitely going to be there Saturday to do the Ming-Na Wen panel. Unfortunately, Friday I can't be there because I'll be working. So there you go. I know, Milton, you're still deciding.
No,
whether
I've been,
or
I've
not
been
you're
looking, like I said, I just got to figure out some things for scheduling wise, but I'm really considering it.
Yeah, especially with the Ming-Na Wen, I'm going to try to shoot over. I'm going to try to work a half day that day and try to be there by 12 or 1 o'clock at the absolute
Right.
latest now that I know she's going to be there. So that should be fun. So yeah, that was a very, very long drawn out outro. So sorry for the audio listeners, like, what is going on here? What is he dragging this out for so long? But I think with that, we already did the plugs. Go ahead and let us know your thoughts on your favorite Star Wars, on your favorite Luke Skywalker stories. And we'll be back next week, same time, same place, roughly around 9 o'clock Eastern. Thanks everybody for watching. And for Ben, for Milton, for Chris, aka Starrapter, thank you for watching, and may the Force be with you always and transmit.